In my last video, I discussed PvZ designs and how crappy they are. I had a lot of reasons, and there's no point in going over every single reason why the second game's newest plants designs suck, but I will list the basics on why they need redesigns in the first place. Let's start with a lack of show, don't tell. What's great about a lot of Plants vs Zombies plants is how you can sort of tell what they do mechanically just by looking at them. These newer plants don't really convey this. Okay, you can sort of tell with plants like the Barbarian because of its comically large hands, even though Bong Choi's design is similar in vein, or plants like Telepotato Mine. Well, it's honestly just Potato Mine with machinery on its body. Okay, there's not much examples, but the point is, you're not able to tell when it comes to certain plants what they do by looking at them. Second, we have the inconsistent art style. Plants vs Zombies 2 is already known for having quite the back and forth art style. There's the beginning era that strives on simplicity, the Sidium era, where plants for some reason strive to look a little bit more detailed compared to before. There's the Blockily era, where starting with Blockily, plant designs were getting a lot more detailed than the first two eras to the point where it clashes together in the worst way possible. And lastly, the worst era, the Vampercini era. Starting from Vampercini, the style just falls all over the place, with plants looking either way too similar to one another or looking way too different from plants from the past. A lack of personality. This is what I believe is the most important. I feel like a lot of these plants don't really have any love put into them, and I don't really get a sense of character looking at them. They're so boring. There's nothing unique about them, and they're almost ugly to look at, whether it's their uncanny faces or their overwhelming colors. With this, now we can use these three main design problems and create a subjective good redesign on 6 plants with the help of a special someone in my life. Rose, Mangofier, Sundew Tangler, Lemonaid, Blaze Leaf, and Brainstem. Now let's get into it, shall we? I don't really understand why Rose looks the way she does in Plants vs Zombies 2. She already has an established design in Garden Warfare 2, PvZ Heroes, and Battle for Neighborville. Although I prefer the first two appearances, as Battle for Neighborville design is a little bit unusual to me. In PvZ 2, she has the same concept as her previous roles, with the consistent use of using magic in order to apprehend zombies, specifically using her Goatified superpower that was introduced in PvZ Heroes. So, why not just use a similar design if it's a similar character? Now let's talk about its mechanic, as it's essential to connect what it does to its design. The Rose is pretty much the wizard zombie, but for plants, turning zombies into sheep. Any zombie to be specific. These transferred zombies can then act as a 900 health walnut once they turn into sheep. It's also the only plant immune to the wizard zombie spell, as if a spell hits it or plants around her, it will reflect and turn the wizard into a sheep. So honestly, redesigning this plant was pretty simple. I wanted to derive the design used from Garden Warfare 2 and PvZ Heroes and turn it into a smaller, simpler version per the PvZ 2 plant. Introducing the redesigned Rose. Since we wanted to match the style of older PvZ 2, we used Blooming Heart, Red Stinger, and Dusklobber as a reference, as I believe their colors, shapes, and design match Rose the best. The Rose was missing a lot of what makes it who it is, and so I added her staff. By the look of it, it's very clear it's a magic-based plant. We didn't add its cloak strictly for its simplicity and not adding in too many assets. Though if you guys believe a cloak would be a nice addition, let me know in the comments. One thing that annoyed me is that the fact that Rose transforms the zombies into sheep even though it's meant to be a goatify spell. But these are sheep, and obviously Slingshot Games is just being lazy. But why call it a goatify spell if the zombies aren't being goatified? So, I changed the sheep into goats, just to make it stand out. In my redesign, the Rose can only turn basic zombies, cone heads, and bucket heads into goats. So let's say there's a Gargantuar. It cannot turn into a goat. Though once it tries to hit Rose, the Rose can deflect 3 to 4 hits before the Gargantuar can break its spell and kill the poor Rose. If a football zombie or an imp is heading towards the Rose, a magic spell can deflect it as well. Rose is a multi-spell plant. I think that makes it not so overpowered, but still giving it some sort of defense for the larger zombies that she cannot turn into goats. Also, it can still deflect wizard zombie spells, and the zombies cannot chew on the goats, because that just doesn't make any sense to me and is way too OP. A 900 health walnut, as well as turning any zombie into these sheeps? Yeah, no, that's being redesigned for Rose. Another recent plant in modern Plants vs Zombies 2, the Lemonaid. Similar to the Rose, the Lemonaid is already an established plant in previous games. The older, crappy version of Plants vs Zombies 3 has a Lemonaid. So she speeds up the attack of all surrounding plants in a 3x3 area around her. Unlike the Rose, I'm not gonna make this redesign identical to Plants vs Zombies 3. Neither will I base it off other lemon plants, like Acid Lemon from the Plants vs Zombies 2 Chinese version, or Reflourished. The Plants vs Zombies 3 Lemonaid isn't a horrible design, but it doesn't match what Lemonaid is meant to do in Plants vs Zombies 2. In Plants vs Zombies 2, she's a multifunctional support plant, being able to produce sun very fast, lobbing healing projectiles to rightmost plants where health is equal to or less than 50% every 5 seconds, boosting plants via activating their plant food, and lastly, reviving dead plants to maximum health. I want to get back to its mechanics later, but let's talk about its design. It's very clear what Lemonaid's problem is. It doesn't look like a lemon at all. It looks like a lima bean more than anything. When I first saw the Lemonaid in the wiki, I genuinely thought it was a lima bean at first. It's literally shaped like the bean sprout. It just fails to convey a lemon. I really don't understand what they were going for. My second problem is the colors. The Lemonaid, in a way, isn't even yellow. It's more on the green side. The colors are just unattractive in general. It's almost eye straining. Its outline contrasts way too much with the primary colors, and they just slap the eyes and leaves that they've used on every modern plant at this point. I try to change up the Lemonaid's colors just a little bit to see how it will look. Now its colors are warmer, and I turned the eyebrows green. No, this is not the redesign, but in a way, this puts the design from a 2 out of 10 to a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 is not good, by the way. You cannot save this design even if its colors aren't as off-putting. Using the fundamentals of what makes a PvZ2 plant, I can now introduce the Lemonaid redesign. We kept a lot of traits from its original design, like the flower and her freckles, but we gave Lemonaid an actual yellowy color rather than the ugly greenish she originally had. On top of that, we remove its beady eyes and replace them with the cuter eyes that match the older style better than whatever they think they're doing with these eyes. We use some inspiration from Lemonaid from PvZ3 by adding a stem. Lemons do have stems after all. There was the idea of adding the red cross in some way to signify that it's an aid plant, though I don't want to violate the Geneva conventions, even though they've already done that before, but whatever. The Lemonaid, mechanically, is not a horrible idea. It's an aid plant, a multi-support aid plant. Although, similar to Brainstem, there's a certain mechanic that's just so random that it doesn't really make any sense. Why does the Lemonaid give sun? What about it looks like it would produce sun? It's not a sunflower. Is it because it's yellow? I don't understand. The name isn't Lemon Sun Producing Aid. So, in my redesign, I remove its ability to produce sun completely. Lemonaid was way too busted in terms of being a sun producer anyway, so it's best we remove this. The Lemonaid can still heal plants, similar to the yellow, the rightmost plant in front of it, though the difference is, it can only heal defense plants, when they're on the brink of death to be specific, resetting their health back to normal. Think of it as the Lemonaid giving the Wana or whatever defense plant you're using one more chance to live. With other plants, it has a chance to boost them. This will come in use when you have an army of zombies coming your way, and the Lemonaid can aid in battle by randomly landing the plant in front of her plant food. And since I removed the ability for her to give sun, she can aid sun producing plants now in a similar vein to Shine Vine by giving them an extra sun or two each time they produce sun. I feel like this really puts the aid in Lemonaid with the fact that it gives aid based on whatever plant is in front of it, whether it's a defense, attack, or sun plant. The Mangofier is like the potential man of Plants vs Zombies 2. It has an incredibly interesting and fun mechanic. I love how it works. But design-wise, animation-wise, even name-wise, it's so stupid. This plant makes me so angry purely because of how great it is conceptually. The Mangofier is a manual plant with 2 firing modes. The first mode lobs several mango pieces at more than just one zombie, and the second mode, the Mangofier, lobs one singular mango piece at one singular zombie. The idea of a plant being able to switch from one mode to another, with both modes being different in many ways, with the first mode being a multi-aerial attack with less damage, and the second mode being a single area attack that does heavy damage, has amazing potential, right? Now, let's look at the design. Yeah, this design sucks. This is my least favorite PvZ2 design ever. There's so much wrong about it. Its face looks like someone grabbed one of those stock emojis and slapped it on the mango. Speaking of stock images, the projectiles used for the mango are straight up actual stock pictures of mangoes on Google. Could they have put at least a little bit more effort into him? What am I saying? I shouldn't expect any effort at all. That's my fault, my bad. But here's the worst part of all. Remember the rules I mentioned in the beginning? One of them being the lack of show don't tell, and I referenced the Mangofier? That's because he's the definition of breaking that said rule. Let's look at other lobber plants in Plants vs Zombies 2. What's something consistent you've noticed about them? You can tell they're lobbers. Look at their slings. It's a catapult on top of a basket containing whatever fruit or vegetable that they lob. You can tell they're, you know, lobber plants. With the Mangofier, you cannot at all. The Mangofier is just a mango with a leaf as a hand. Would anyone be able to tell that this is a lobber plant? I know I wouldn't be able to tell if I hadn't been absolutely obsessed with Plants vs Zombies, and I know what every PvZ2 plant does. Not just that, but I feel like the name itself is also a little silly. It's called Mangofier because it's a blend of mango, obviously, and magnifier. I told you about the plant's mechanic. What about it links to anything about magnifiers? Oh, right. Its plant food involves him summoning a beam of light to hurt zombies. What about it links to anything about summoning a beam of light? The design has no connection to this, neither does its mechanic apart from its plant food. Let's compare it to magnifying grass. You can see the resemblance in that plant, and its mechanic is all about shooting light. So, for a redesign, let's remove that magnifying pun and its plant food because it's unnecessary and change the name to Mango Mortar. It has a nice ring to it, I would say. Let's introduce the new and improved Mango Mortar design. Ta-da! The Mango Mortar works pretty much exactly like the original Mangofier, minus the plant food. It has its two modes. The lobber mode shown here. Now it's very clear that it's a lobber plant, obviously based on other PvZ2 plants because even non-PvZ1 lobber plants like Blooming Heart have that clear indication that it's a lobber, with its branch-like catapult. For the second mode, we have the cannon one. I don't like that the only indication of what mode the Mangofier is in is with its random visual that wraps around the plant. I get confused of which mode is which with this, so I gave it two different designs depending on if it's a lobber or cannon mode. It's very clear that the Mangofier's cannon design now is a launcher of some kind, as emphasized as the bundle on top of its head. When you click on the Mangofier, it will have a quick animation of it switching from one mode to another, which I think would be awesome. You probably noticed that the colors of the Mangofier change as well. This is not only to differentiate both the mango and lobber designs, but because mangoes always seem to have completely different colors sometimes. There's many gradients when it comes to them. I try to match whatever emotion the original PvZ2 design is meant to be going for as well, an amused and mischievous like face. So at least there's some sort of remainder of the old horrible Mangofier design left. That's it from the Mangofier redesign. The Sundew Tangler is honestly tied with the Mangofier when it comes to bad design. Though there's a big difference when it comes to the Mangofier and the Sundew. The Mangofier, like I mentioned, had immense potential with the fact that its mechanic is interesting. The Sundew Tangler on the other hand, it sucks in that factor. I don't like it, and not just because it's really ugly. I ranked the Sundew Tangler last place in my sun producer ranking for a reason. It's a useless sun-producing plant. How does it work? The Sundew Tangler is a short-range plant that can trap zombies that get close to her. When trapping these zombies, she's able to use them as shields, and it'll slowly, and I mean slowly, take the health of whatever zombie is caught, dealing a little 26 damage every 2 seconds. This is its main mechanic. You would expect more out of it in terms of sun production. Well, yeah, it produces sun, but its sun ability is pathetic, honestly. For a plant with the name sun in it, Sundew Tangler, it's not very sun-oriented. Zombies die before they could even produce sun sometimes. So we're gonna rework the mechanic just a little bit on top of its design. Speaking of its design, it's ugly. I don't understand when they gave her a Family Guy type mouth, and of course, the overuse of beady eyes, its inconsistent line art, and the lack of direction in the design. It's hard to tell what exactly it's meant to do, but that applies to mostly every plant in this video at this point, so I'm used to it. The Sundew Tangler just fails fundamentally in every level. A plant that's meant to be a sun-producing plant and barely produces any sun is a bad plant, and its design is just unappealing. In a way, I can kind of see what it's going for at least. It's meant to be a bratty but deceptive plant. She looks innocent, but really isn't. So there's some personality to it. But with that, let's introduce the redesign. We decided to abandon the beady eyes and use eyes similar in vein to plants like the mistletoe and red stinger. So not every plant has a generic beady eyes. Yes, I know certain plants like sunflower or even pea shooter share similar eyes, so by that logic, it's bad design. No, it's not. That makes no sense. We gave the Sundew Tangler a completely different design and the way it works. We incorporated its gland-tipped tentacles by turning them into braids, almost resembling hair. I've always enjoyed when certain plant features have traits that look like hair but really isn't, like how the bloomerang's hair looks like dreads, or the intensive carrot's leaves look like hair strands. Even plants like the Tome Tangler, even though I despise the Tome Tangler, I have to give it credit for the way it incorporates its features. Using its braids, think of Fukua from Ska Girls. The Sundew Tangler can grab onto a zombie and trap it there, freezing it in place. The zombie will slowly take damage, and with each interval, will drop sun with each hit. A basic zombie can drop around 4 to 5 sun. It depends really, as the Sundew Tangler's damage won't be so high anymore, so the zombie won't die before it can produce any sun. The Sundew Tangler will not stop until the zombie is killed. The fact that sun can drop with each interval it damages the zombie will incorporate it to be a much better sun production plant, rather than its main focus mainly being that it can trap them. It can still trap zombies, obviously. It's a carnivore plant, and what makes it stand out from plants like the Chomper and Devour Bloom is that it doesn't instantly kill them, but rather keep them in place and extract sun out of them. Something I also changed because I hated it was that plants completely ignore the zombie once it's trapped by the Sundew Tangler. What's the point in that? I assume it's for some sort of balance, but it's pretty annoying when you're playing and a plant just stops attacking purely because it's trapped by the Sundew Tangler. When a zombie is trapped, let's say a pea shooter shoots at the trapped zombie, the zombie can also drop sun, not just by the Tangler extracting health from the zombie, but from the pea shooter's attack. Similar to the sunbeam's glow, and that's all we got for the Sundew Tangler. The Blaze Leaf is weird. He's pretty irrelevant, and nobody really cares about him. I don't see why they would. Then again, I can't really name one modern Plants vs Zombies 2 plant that's really that relevant these days. They're fairly forgettable, and Blaze Leaf is one of them. I really don't like the way that Blaze Leaf works. I feel like he's too much of a copy to other melee plants, and I'll elaborate in a second. What does a Blaze Leaf do? He deals damage to zombies in a 3x3 area, attacking them with its flames. He's able to release a special attack every third attack it does, dealing damage across 3 lanes. This reminds me a little too much to a plant like Wasabi Whip, who has a similar premise. A flame-related melee plant that can also do damage to targets both above and below. Mine is a special attack, which is what's meant to make Blaze Leaf stand out, I guess. It's not a bad thing if plants are similar to one another technically. That's not its biggest sin. The idea of a plant having a special attack with every hit or third hit is an interesting premise. The problem is, just like plants like Lemonaid and Mangofier, is the way they present this concept. Blaze Leaf also has the same problem as Sundew Tangler, where his face is just unappealing to look at as well. The Family Guy mouth is back. I don't know why they think this would look good when the design of this plant has so much potential. The mouth it has is just so stupid. It's like a chicken beak. Apart from that, the rest of the design isn't that bad, believe it or not. They're going for a plant that looks like a flame, and they do a good job on it, minus the mushy colors. But the real problem is, where the plant falls apart conceptually, is the way the plant's attacks look. Its flames stand out in the worst way possible. You know those anime green screen fire transitions that YouTube uses? Yeah, it looks like that. Which sucks because the idea of a plant creating a circle of flame to attack a zombie, like I said about presentation, conceptually it sounds magnificent. The plant overall is based on the Flame Lily, which by the looks of it is a stunning looking plant, but the way they executed it just fell apart completely. Let's showcase a redesign. As you can see, I removed its Peter Griffin face and Kyle Arts looking face and replaced it with an expression that I believe would fit the plant so much more. I like to imagine the Blaze Leaf is a wicked acting plant. When I look at the real life plant, all I can imagine is a sinister, almost villainous plant, which is what I was trying to go with. I also tried to incorporate the Almanac's flavor text because the original design doesn't really match it. The original looks more cocky rather than a plant with a short temper, so I incorporated that into its eyes. I also gave it a warmer orange and yellow to contrast a little nicer with its darker, less saturated stems to really convey its malicious personality. The original design's colors were way too bright. I do understand the Flame Lily is bright in real life, but the original plant's colors mushed together and looked more like a peach than anything. The Blaze Leaf was changed mechanically as well. Rather than spinning stock video flames on zombies, it will shoot bursts of flames towards the enemies in front of it. The Blaze Leaf has 2 attacks. A long attack that reaches out to more than just one zombie, then it will then concentrate on solely the zombie in front of it in short bursts. The attacks can leave the zombies flamed up, sparks slowly dealing damage and eventually killing whatever zombies that were hit by its long burst. Now we have a design that fits the personality way better than before, and a mechanic that I believe will separate it from other melee plants compared to how it worked originally. That's what we got for the Blaze Leaf. We finally have our last plant, the brainstem, which, you know, do I even need to explain what's the problem with this plant? Let's start with mechanics, because mechanically, there really isn't much of a problem with it. A lot of people made a good point in my comments that the brainstem's design, in a way, does show that its design conveys its mechanic. It is a brain, so one could assume that a zombie would be attracted to it, which is what it does. It can attract zombies both front and back and make them ignore any plant but the brainstem. But there is an extra mechanic that I don't really like. It can shrink zombies, and it has a 50% chance to shrink it to almost nothing. Similar to the Lemonaid with its random sun production, or Mangofier with its random plant food, there's no meaning to inputting this mechanic into the brainstem. It's not shown through the design, the name, and it just doesn't make any sense. Design-wise, isn't it obvious? The copied beady eyes that you see in every plant at this point, the same leaves, and the lack of uniqueness, it is literally just a brain slapped on a bunch of leaves. What about this gives some sort of resemblance that it's a plant? It doesn't look like one. The brainstem is based on the coxcomb, which is why it's meant to look like a brain, but they really could have incorporated more floral features. It's not like the coxcomb doesn't. It was actually a struggle to redesign the brainstem though, believe it or not. It was actually the hardest plant to think of a good redesign for, but I think we figured out a fairly good design for the brainstem. Like I said, its main part of the design is the fact that it's a brain. Well, there's still resemblance to a brain, the shape and the colors. The difference is that, of course, obviously, it's not just a brain slapped on a bunch of leaves. There's a plant stem, leaves that aren't just copies of Lemonaid roses, and I kept this little hair strand thing as it was one of the things I found cute on the older design. I also gave the brain wide, bloodshot eyes to give it more of a personality. I like to imagine him as an erratic plant, and it really gives it more character rather than looking generic and purely cute looking. The brainstem works like before. It'll attract zombies, similar in vein to sweet potato and garlic. Of course, the difference is that zombies will ignore every plant completely in favor of the brainstem, even turning it around to target the brainstem, making it a great defense plant. Obviously, you viewers know my problem with it was being able to shrink zombies. It doesn't make any sense, so we removed that and gave the brainstem 4000 toughness, the same as walnut, rather than 350, so it's strictly a defense plant and nothing else. And that is what we have for brainstem. We're finally done with redesigning my 6 least favorite plant designs. There's honestly still some I don't really like Scaredy Shroom and Doom Shroom's designs, though there's plenty of redesigns online that you can check out that are way better, like the Chinese versions designs, which are great by the way. If there's other plants you guys would like me to cover and redesign, let me know. I will gladly do another part. Animating and changing up these designs were fun, so who knows, if this video goes well, we will see. That's about it guys, I'll see you in the next one.